Hello, welcome back. My name is Ari and today I have a lot of books that need to be unhauled. I'm gonna go through all these books. I'm going to at least show them all to you. I don't know if I'm gonna go like in depth on talking about all of them, but I'm gonna do a quickest relative run through of a whole lot of books that are getting out of my collection. I'm gonna start with this stack first. All of these books were in a try a chapter video I did earlier this month, and I decided that none of these need to stay in my collection. They all came from like book boxes or like blind date with a book type things. Bye. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I read it, it was fine. I don't need to keep this book. Old Country, book box. Read it, it's fine. I don't need to keep this book. Dorothy Must Die. This was like a book that I bought one of the earliest hauls at my channel, and I finally read it this year. Kept putting it off because I don't like Wizard of Oz. Why did I buy a Wizard of Oz book if I don't like Wizard of Oz? And it was fine. It was better than I expected it, but I don't want to read the rest of this series, so goodbye. Then I have the Fifth Wave trilogy. I read the whole trilogy, or I guess I read two of them previously, finally finished out the trilogy this year. This is not a trilogy that I wanted to keep. I'm never going to reread it again. It was fine. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. And then I have Born by Jeff Vandermeer. A bookseller recommended this, and it wasn't as much to my taste as that bookseller hoped it would be. Then I have Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb. This came in a book box. It's got really pretty sprayed edges. It was fine. It wasn't really worth keeping. I'm not going to continue in that series. Then I have Twin Crowns by Catherine Weber and Catherine Doyle. Another book box book. I think both of these were Fairy Loot. I didn't particularly care for this story. Mark Lawrence book, finally finished out that series, getting rid of it. I think I already got rid of the first two books in the series previously, so I knew I was going to read that and get rid of it immediately. Ember in the Ashes, another series. I think this was a gift from my boyfriend last year, from my wish list. I finally got around to reading it. It just wasn't for me. I don't want to continue on with that series, but I know a lot of people like it. Then a couple of books from a horror book box. I haven't liked any book out of this Twisted Retreat, I believe, book box. So I've read these. They're very pretty, but I have no desire to keep them. Going to grab this stack really quick. In here I've got Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood, The City in the Middle of the Night, and Leave the World Behind. These three books came in like a blind date book box thing, and I've already read all three of these. I have a copy of this, and I hated this, and I DNF'd this, so I don't need to keep any of these. Right, next pile. Killers of the Flower Moon. I read it. I don't need to keep it. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Read it. It was fine. Don't need to keep it. Fangs by Sarah Anderson. I really liked this little graphic novel. It was very cute, but I'm not going to read it again, and I want to pass this on to somebody else who's going to like it more. Then I have these two books from the same series. This is book 2 and book 3 in, I don't know, the Chimera series. I read book 1 and apparently got rid of it, so I don't want to rebuy book 1. I didn't love it. I liked this series, but I didn't love it enough to rebuy book 1. So I'm just going to get rid of books 2 and 3. I have Harrow. This was awful. So that one could quickly go away. Another book, very pretty book from the Twisted Retreat box. And like I said, I don't like any of these books, so bye-bye. Then this one came in a book box, Goldfinch. I didn't like the Goldfinch. I know a lot of people do, but I didn't. Then Heart of the Fae by Emma Han, another one that my boyfriend got me for a previous Christmas. But I didn't care for this story. It was fine, but if I continue reading it, it's going to be on like Kindle Unlimited. Skin of the Sea came in a Once Upon a Book Club box. It was Not as good as I hoped it would be, but it was fine. Look, another Twisted Retreat box book. Didn't like that. I picked this one up at a bookstore for a readathon thing, and it was actually really, really good, but I don't feel the need to keep it. Like, this was a 4-star book. This was a very, very good book, but I'm not going to read it again, so share that one with somebody else. Then Battle Royale, just watch the movie. Don't read this chunker of a book, and I don't need to keep this. Then these two at the bottom of the pile are DNFs, so why am I keeping DNF books? Goodbye! Another book recommended to me by a bookseller, which was awful. Don't recommend this one. Definitely going away. Then I have 2 copies of The Last Human by Zach Jordan. 5-star prediction that I DNF'd. The bookseller sent me an ARC, and then I was like, hey, what the F? And then so they sent me a hardback to replace it, and I'm not keeping either of them. This one is going in a little free library, while everything else is going to be like resold. But yeah, bye to both of these. Then I have Stephen King's Fairy Tale. This was, I think, the first book I read this year. It was fine. It wasn't bad at all, but I'm not gonna keep it. 1 by 1 by Ruth Ware. I am shocked to say that this wasn't that bad, but I don't want to keep it. I'm never gonna reread a thriller, so don't need to keep those around unless maybe the cover's really pretty or something. Speaking of pretty covers, another DNF book, although gorgeous. Let's give it to somebody who is gonna like it more than I did. Oh, hey look, some more DNFs. Let's get these DNFs out of my house. Get them to people who won't DNF them. Then I have some nonfiction. This is both nonfiction books about Black women's hair. One from, I think this is the UK and this is the US. It could be the other way around, I don't remember. But while these were both good, both educational, I'm not Black. I don't have this hair type. So let's get these in the hands of people who can make use out of them. Not anything that I'm going to like re-reference like some of my other really good books, but both of these are good. Just, I don't need to keep them. And then a big ass stack of Book of the Month books that I don't need to keep. Inkblood Sisters Scribe. It was decent. Not my favorite book, kind of boring to me, but let's get this in the hand of somebody else who's going to enjoy it. Camp Zero. This was awful. This is so boring. Vampires of El Norte. This one, it was a pretty love story, but not a great vampire book, if that makes sense. Immortal Longings. Just like many other people who read this book, this is so dry, so long. It is not long, but it feels like a 7,000 page book. Small Angels. This was bad. I didn't like it. Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I don't actually like Blake Crouch as much as most people do, so I don't know why I keep reading his books. Lindy West and I just don't get along as far as like what she writes. I've not liked anything I've read from her. And she likes to make very sweeping generalizations about feminism that just bite her in the ass years later. Because they're just objectively wrong. My other exploration with Donna Tartt. I am not a Donna Tartt fan. And I am not really a dark academia girly, so this one didn't work for me great. I know everybody loves Tomorrow Times 3, except for me. Is it because I work in the video game industry? Or is it just because this isn't my type of book? I don't know. The video game stuff is reasonably accurate. Not perfect, but that's not really the point of this book. It's like the friendship. And that part's just not for me. And then Amina Al-Sarafi. This was actually a pretty decent book, but not like the love of my life. So let's give this to somebody who's gonna enjoy it more. And that's everything I'm unhauling for now. I think there might be a 3 or 4, a handful more books that I'm going to unhaul after my like worst of the year video, which will be out towards the end of this year. But mostly that's the unhaul. There's a lot of books that I'm getting rid of, making more room for all of the new books that I bought that you saw me haul yesterday. I don't know if that was an equivalent number, but I'm gonna pretend like it was more than 31 books. It probably was. That was a lot of stacks. I'm gonna say, yeah, that was definitely unhauling more than 31 books. I'm not gonna count it, but I'm just gonna delusionally pretend that I counted it. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow for another video. Bye!